Time for the ride home in ENC.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is your 5 o'clock drive with Patrick Johnson.
Holy mackerel!
More news, more interviews, more ECU stories than you can shake a stick at. Hey, stop shaking that stick. This is the Patrick Johnson Show.
Pirates win! Pirates win!
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, hello again, everybody, and welcome. It is the Patrick Johnson Show that gets you to the weekend edition. Nice to have you along here. Mike Mullis previewing East Carolina at Coastal in baseball coming up in just a bit. It is a huge weekend as we are playing down the stretch. March Madness right around the corner from starting, and the Pirates are now clinging to extend their season. It all comes down to the last game, but who'd have thought that a month ago, or certainly who'd have thought that earlier in the season. Great interview yesterday with John Gilbert. If you did not consume this interview, and look, I'll toot my own horn because nobody else will, as the fifth favorite announcer on this radio product station. And that is, I think it is the most comprehensive interview we've done with John as far as basketball goes. We've talked a lot about football with John and just the state of athletics, but as far as the expectations, where the program is, where the program needs to go, it is probably the most comprehensive interview that we've done with John Gilbert. And I would say that anybody's done with John Gilbert on basketball. So I would encourage you to go to ECUPirates.com. There were some other things, too, yesterday that I thought were really interesting. He addressed the Mr. Beast thing. You know, I'm hearing a lot of things about that as far as dancing around, nobody really wanting to commit to anything, but there's obviously some dialogue or attempts at dialogue there. He talked about patches on uniforms, but was maybe not as, what's the word? Maybe not as assertive about naming rights of an arena. See, I think that's where we're maybe missing the – and look, I understand these are not snap-your-finger things. But with no disrespect to anybody who's had things named after them and the money they gave at the time, but in today's environment, to me, I think the days of naming a college venue for a bygone era person is soon going to be passé. Now, does that strip away some of the character and the quality of what we have loved about college athletics? Absolutely. But I think in order to be competitive, you better start looking at naming your venues brand name park, brand name stadium, brand name field, brand name arena, or you're going to be in some real trouble. Again, it's valuable real estate. So just some thoughts yesterday out of the meeting with John. Let's do the top 5 at 5 as we bring in Philip Pilkington.
This may very well be our last mission. Let's make it count.
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
It's impossible.
Now some stories you may have heard.
You ready?
Or catch it for the first time. This is your 5 at 5 with the P-Man.
Number one.
No Billy Gruber numbers today, are there?
No.
I mean, that was just, you gotta be kidding me.
Talking about him talking about NBA?
I mean, there's a way to say that, and then there was a way to give the book report, and we got the book report.
Hey, man, he's doing great in school, you know, and that's why he gives a great book report.
Well, this ain't school, dog. What we got?
All righty, number 1, Pirates fall to the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. After the game, Coach Schwartz talks about the tough loss.
It's pretty simple. It's not about confusion. It's not about it. They were denying. They were denying handoffs, denying one pass away, trying to blow up handoffs, trying to see could our bigs be physical in a handoff, could our bigs be physical in a screen, and they were busting through screens and busting through handoffs, and it's just simple. It's denying, and so you either gonna get out physical. They got physical guards. I thought they out physicaled our guards very clearly, and that's what we were talking about. They were out physicaling our guards at the point of connection, whether it's a connection of a screen, connection of a handoff.
So I watched the first half. I left at halftime. Yes, Virginia, there is a P-Man sighting in Williams Arena, Minges Coliseum. I was there for the first half, sitting near Cy Seymour, who talked to more people during the game than he did watching it at times. But that's Cy. I spent 2 hours twice a week with doing that for the last several years, and I loved it. Tulsa is legit, and I was in dialogue with a couple different people who know college ball last night, texting with them. And they said, here is the shame in the Americans' plight right now. Tulsa should be in the NCAA tournament regardless of what they do next week. That is an NCAA tournament team. And I would argue right now, they wouldn't do any worse than the Wolfies, for sure, who are not playing well. Little cat called a WP there.
I saw an interesting stat yesterday, Patrick, that's just going to build off your point. Since the expansion of the tournament to 64 teams, 18 times has a mid-major made the Final Four. And that doesn't even include Louisville when they were in a mid-major conference because they've now been promoted, as well as Marquette, who was in a lower league and now in the Big East. However, teams to have a losing record in a Power 5 conference have only made the Final Four one time. Yeah, so put in the mid-major who's kicking everybody's tail instead of insert Power 4 school here that went, 8-10 in big-time play.
Two games below 500 in the conference. And, who wants to watch it? That was a fun team to watch in Tulsa last night. And here's the other thing. Everybody talks about that they made 11 threes for like the 20th time this year. They made double-digit threes. They can interchange and guard anybody because they can switch. That is the job that guy's done there in 4 years is pretty remarkable. Now, obviously, what will the roster look like next year? That's always the question in this, and that is roster construction year to year.
Number two, sticking with college hoops, it's going to be a battle of two blue bloods tomorrow night in Cameron Indoor, Carolina and Duke, Part 2. Caleb Wilson, who knows?
You can hear the Blue Devil feed on Talk 103.7 WTIB. You can hear the feed for the Tar Heels on Oldies 94.1 and 102.7. By the way, little programming reminder for our sister stations here. Pilk, I say this. I think since the Carolina loss, Duke has really bounced back, and they've been the best team in the nation. Now, you would know Carolina would like nothing better than to get a season sweep of the Blue Devils. And to do it in their building would also be a little extra spicy for the baby blue. So, look, North Carolina, you and I have seen this movie before. They're going to play out of their gourd. They always do. They play above their skis whenever they are the underdogish kind of team against Duke. It is the Carolina blank factor, as the late, great John Feinstein called it. And I'm anxious to see how this goes tomorrow because essentially the teams are locked in for the ACC tournament. Duke is going to be a number one seed in the NCAA tournament regardless of the outcome tomorrow. North Carolina is in the NCAA. They can obviously maybe help their seeding a little bit, but they're in. So I'm really anxious to see how all of this plays out tomorrow from Cameron Indoor Stadium at 6:30. And I would imagine, because here's the phenomena it's become with Duke. And think of how many guys we've seen who have played really well in this position, the one and dones. It's essentially their senior night.
Yeah.
So, you're going to see these guys in their final home game, and I'm speaking specifically of Boozer, play really, really, really well. There have been other Duke guys that have done that have come out either whether it's against Carolina for the last game of the year or somebody else, and they play that game like a senior would because it's senior day in a sense for those one and dones.
It is, and I expect him to have a great night. And, Patrick, like you said, in the grand scheme of things, does this game probably not, affect much down the road? No, but you do have to remember the loser of the season finale has never gone on to win the national championship. So remember that, Duke. You want to win it all, better win tomorrow night.
3.
All righty, number 3, going over to baseball / softball. Softball now getting underway, their first conference series against Wichita State, obviously Baseball will be on our airways here in about 35 minutes from Coastal Dylan Johnson and Coach O making the road trip down. They let Coach O, they usually don't let him go on the road. I don't like that. Coach O likes to travel, likes to go with the team, but he's going to be on the road for this one.
I went with Coach O last year to Florida. He was down there for it was great. Coach O's insight, especially when you're in the road venues, is irreplaceable on there. Love Coach O. Great to have Dylan and Coach O there in tandem this weekend. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll be an interesting series. I think obviously Coastal has kind of established themselves in the realm of the East Carolinas of the world, the UTSAs of the world, maybe Dallas Baptists is another one you could throw in there, and others out of the Sun Belt as sort of the king of the so-called mid-major hill. I think that, in other words, in baseball, you have programs that are maybe at the so-called mid-major level that operate at a high level. East Carolina is one of them, and obviously Coastal is. And just based on-field results, what Kevin Schnall has done at Coastal has been quite remarkable. I think it's going to be a really spicy series this weekend. Mike Mullis will be with us in the next segment to give us a preview of that. Anything to add to that, Mr. Pilkington?
No, I just think it's going to be good. This is going to be big and could be a huge RPI boost for the Pirates because we know how important that is down the stretch.
4.
Number 4, staying on the diamond tonight, 8 o'clock. Team USA against Brazil. First game World Baseball Classic. PJ, I'm pumped. This is awesome. We just got to see the hockey team win gold. Let's keep that momentum going.
Well, I think that's the cool thing about this in the realm of patriotism. If you're not rooting for your team or the individuals and athletes that represent your team in something like this, in the World Cup or in the Olympics, you ought to be deported. I'll say it. If you're an American not rooting for the U.S. athletes or teams,
America,
you need to be deported. Get out of here.
You want a socialist nation? Have fun where it is socialist. See how well you like it.
I mean, it's just – and look, what's going on right now geopolitically, I'm not down with in a lot of ways. I've made those feelings known on the other station, the talk station. But still, at the end of the day, we're all Americans. We ought to root for our American representatives and not create a situation where to just root for the team representing the United States across their jersey has all of a sudden become political. I mean, I know everything's political, but gosh, that's sickening.
Wasn't political in 1980.
No, it wasn't. And I think you're excited and you're going to have a lot of fun. How are we doing on time, Pilk? We need to rush through.
We got to get through this. Right. Get Mully. He's ready to go. All right.
5.
Number 5. A high school basketball team somewhere didn't get the exact location of this. If you're on our video feed, you can see it. The cheer team standing there on the baseline, ready to cheer on the basketball boys, and they have a sign they can hold up that says touchdown. Patrick, can you score touchdowns in basketball? You're the basketball guru.
Well, no, you can't. So, look, it's the cheerleaders, man. Look, I'll say this now because he's retired. As Ken Whitehurst, our great friend, once told me, while he was the AD at North Pitt and the cheerleading advisor was just chewing his ear about stuff. He said, hey, we could this Friday turn on the lights, open the concession stand, and charge admission for you all to do cheers, and we'll see how many people show up.
Hey, I'm just saying, cheerleaders need to when they make the team, they've got to take a basic class. They need to know the difference in like offense and defense, football and basketball. I'm not saying they got to go out there and coach the game, but my sister, she was a cheerleader, and she had a lot of complaints about how little the other girls knew. For example, one time the opposing team was trying to run the clock out and running the ball, and they started chanting to sack that quarterback, and she was going, you idiots, the other team's not going to throw the ball. There's no quarterback to sack. They're running the ball. It's a 4-minute offense.
Mike Mullis comes back and joins us. We'll preview ECU and Coastal after this.
Back to the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back. We've got a jam-packed show, so let's get started.
Deep breath. Here we go.
All right, here we are on a Get You to the Weekend edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. It's great to have you along. One of our faves, he is the one and only Mike Mullis, my broadcast colleague on ESPN Plus. and the affable host of the Mullicast. Inside, I like that really a lot, the Mullicast, but it's inside the dugout with Coach Mike Mullis, or with Mully, at Tiebreakers. There will be two occasions this weekend to enjoy that, and it is wildly popular with our friends at Tiebreakers and the Pirate Nation. 6 o'clock tonight, Mully will be at TB's, the original location on Smithwick and Bells Fork, part of Greenville, and he'll be there Sunday. Mully, what time is the Sunday game scheduled for right now?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Okay.
2 o'clock.
Very good. 2 o'clock. So Sundays with Mully is the way to go. Boy, what a great response you've gotten to that. You were very kind to include me in the slate, and my busy broadcast schedule has me here and there for some of those. A little later in the year, I'll be there with a little more consistency, but unfortunately, duty calls this weekend. But if things wrap up early enough, you know what? I might actually be able to, because our game's at 11 Sunday for softball. So I could roll in there. But it's up to you, Mully. It's your show. I'm just, I'm along for the ride. So, and at that point, I may have no voice. Who knows?
Well, we obviously, dude, I'd love to have you. Schedules are set. We're ready to roll. Coach Harrell will be riding with us. Tonight.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then Sunday, the honorable mayor of Greenville, former East Carolina baseball player. I think a lot of people don't recognize that, PJ Conley. So we got a fun weekend. Should be a good series. Looking forward to quality baseball between both teams, and just a good time at TB's.
I think you have probably the best set of guests you've had so far. I mean, I know we've had some good ones, but man, to get Blake Harrell and the mayor of Greenville, PJ Conley, out there this weekend, my word, very exciting. Congratulations on that, Mike.
Look, and I think with the atmosphere tonight, Friday evening anyway, people are going to be ready to sit back and relax, enjoy the weekend, and then East Carolina facing Coastal, which is fun. And I know there's a ton of people going to Conway to enjoy that. If you're not going, come on over to TB's. We'll have as much of the jungle atmosphere as we could possibly have. But talked to Brian Dilday last night via text and said, hey, look, let any of the jungle crew know that they're not, if they're not going to Conway, we'd love to have them. And he said the entirety of their crew is going. So it may be a jungle takeover there at Brooksfield and at Coastal, but it's actually maybe Brooks is in Wilmington, but at Coastal's facility. But anyway, it's always a good time when these two teams get together. I mean, the regional was a lot of fun, and the series last year here at Clark LeClaire was a lot of fun. So looking forward to this tonight.
Mike Mullis with us here. Will they let them take the megaphones into the facility at Coastal?
That's a good question. I would think the folks at Coastal, the coaching staff, and even the administration I had the opportunity to meet, they enjoy a raucous atmosphere. So that would certainly add to it. But I don't know. That will be interesting. And with the makeup of that stadium, with the kind of the boardwalk and accessibility all the way around the field, there would be some really good spots for them to set up for sure. But I don't know. That's a good question. I just hope that the vendors and concessionaires are fully stocked and ready to host this Pirate crowd. I know that became a little bit of a problem back during the regionals.
Mully, I think regardless, a good time could be had by all. I think it'll be I think you have two programs that are really, in a lot of ways, aligned, similarities with fan bases, with the chip on the shoulder mentality, with the effort to be a big-time nationally ranked year in and year out program. Coastal, of course, just on the cusp of the top 15, according to some of the polls. They lost a tough one earlier in the week at NC State. Actually had a lead in that game and surrendered it to the Wolfpack in a heck of a top 20 matchup. So this is a good Coastal team. They've taken on all comers so far. And Mully, I'm sure that their players and their fans have circled this weekend, because this is a huge kind of kickoff to the baseball season in a lot of ways. Now that we're in March for both of these programs, I mean, it's a series you could point to when the schedules came out.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. But, PJ, this crowd, played in the big tournament over in Houston. So they faced UTSA, faced LSU, and beat Ole Miss. So it went 1-for-3 or one and two there. So I mean, they've already had some big series. I mean, coming off of being the national runner-up, the expectations are great. But this is going to be a fun series, and it is a again, it takes you back to the regional last year, how great those games were. That although the Pirates lost that last game there 1-0, that was one of the most well played college baseball games. Matter of fact, baseball games that I've ever been part of. So I mean, it's high level baseball. You got to remember, and obviously the big storyline, and I'm sure you are heading this direction, but Coastal Carolina is awfully banged up on the mound, missing three, their two front end starters, and then their closer. And then another transfer that they were counting on in a big role that's yet to throw a pitch. So they're a little banged up and really in survival mode. They're kind of that cornered animal, and they have been very, very vanilla offensively, far less than the returning starters that you would feel like would be able to carry that team offensively. Just haven't done a whole lot. So you got to wonder when those bats are going to wake up. You got to feel like they will, but you also look across the diamond at that East Carolina pitching staff, and I think it's going to be a great test for them. And again, quality baseball, for the whole weekend. Coastal Carolina at one point number 6 team in the country, and a lot of it based off that pitching staff. So now that staff's a little beat up, they're going to have to kind of mix and match. And I'll tell you, I think it puts East Carolina in a great position. If they can at least split the Friday-Saturday games, I think that puts East Carolina in a great position for Sunday again, kind of due to the depleted bullpen or arms for the Chanticleers.
Ollie, what's interesting about the Chanticleers is they've had some offensive fireworks, particularly in the game against UTSA. That was a real barn burner, and anything we can read, I mean, they've played a heck of a schedule. You're exactly right. But anything we can read about, out of the NC State matchup this week, or anything we can read out of the matchup that they had against UTSA as a harbinger for this, or an indicator for this series, perhaps?
No, I think I think they're going through what, quite honestly, these two teams are kind of at the same crossroads where they're kind of trying to establish their identity going forward. I don't think, can you read anything into those results and, infer anything to the East Carolina weekend? The only thing I think you take away is obviously, especially with the arms that they saw on the weekend, Coastal's going to battle through at bats. They kind of have a recipe for their success. They certainly have very defined roles. They do have some punch there in that lineup that just hasn't caught fire yet. So, again, I don't know that we can take anything away from them other than I think we look at these two teams very similarly from, again, establishment of their idea, their identification, their kind of identity of what they're going to be and which way they go. And, I love where East Carolina's at. I think they played very solid baseball. I know it didn't work out against Western on Sunday. Played a solid game against Wilmington. Pitching got a little bit scruffy there late, but a convincing win nonetheless. And, I mean, I just think it's going to be a great series of two teams that are kind of very similar, and it's going to be a spirited matchup.
Mike Mullis joining us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. How big was the UNCW win for ECU?
It was a great bounce back win, and especially with a program that it's a historical rivalry there with the Seahawks. So a great bounce back win off of what Coach Godwin felt that was a less than, I don't want to say stellar, but maybe not quite as convicted performance on Sunday. That was his problem with it. He felt like the guys kind of went through the motion after winning 2 games and looking across and feeling like it was maybe a lesser opponent in Western Carolina. But look, man, Western Carolina bounces back and beats Georgia midweek. So that's a solid ball club. And I think when we look back on that 2-0 loss at the end of the season, I don't think it's going to be one that jumps off the page as being a terrible loss. So But yeah, in answer to your question, I think the win over Wilmington to kind of get that mentality back. You certainly don't want to scuffle your way, into Conway, South Carolina, and facing Coastal. So to come off a win against a quality opponent is a great momentum builder going into this weekend.
Mike Mullis joining us here. How about the pitching performance in Wilmington for Joseph Webb, and what could that possibly present as a signature piece in long relief for the Pirates down the road?
I tell you what, man, it was a breath of fresh air to have a clean, extended outing from him, from a guy that was so much thought of in the preseason. So, I like what they did. They had allowed him to call his own pitches, and either there was an agreement forced upon or truly agreed upon by Webb and AK, but the decision made, hey, I'm going to call the pitches, you just throw them, and we're going to reduce the thinking process for you on the mound. And they may go back to that and probably still gave him some level of autonomy. But at the same time, you just go pitch. Let's not think so much and go out and be who he was brought in here to be. So, man, it goes a long ways to bolster that bullpen if he can be a guy. Now that, may give us a chance to see the workload reduced a little bit for Sean Jenkins and maybe more in the true high leverage type situations. And, again, you gotta like the young freshman Ethan Rose in the pen as well. So, I mean, I like where the pitching staff's at. And we, continue to get really good frontline pitching out of the starters. Still, I think a big story of this series, man. Remember last time that the Chanticleers faced Norby, they had nightmares for quite a while. I want to say that was a 15 strikeout performance, and I literally can remember talking to their head coach Kevin Stahl on the following Monday, and he was like, "Man, that Norby was freaking lights out." Like he literally they went back and looked at the analytics of the outing, and they were just silly, and he was ahead of hitters and just was able to throw his game. So we'll see if Norby has certainly improved. Yep. Still, I don't think we've seen the best out of him, and hopefully we continue to see signs of improvement Friday.
Mully, I think the game you and I did last Friday where Norby had probably his best outing, but still maybe not quite as sharp. But when you look back at what ended up happening with Rutgers, it was probably, despite not having his best stuff, in other words, it was a great outing, but I think we're going to kind of look back on the Norby season and say that was a better outing than maybe it felt like at the time.
And I think the problem with that is the standard with which we view Norby and the standard that he himself set based off of last year. I mean, he was pitching with such a high level of confidence with every reason in the world to do so, commanding his pitches, even his sequencing was very good. He didn't throw that non-competitive pitch that allows a hitter an opportunity to reset an at bat. And we're seeing him spray the breaking stuff a little bit more this year than we've been used to. Again, to your point, I think there's some validity to that. I also think we would all agree that Rutgers probably played about as poorly as they can play. And, no matter how hard we try as coaches and players to separate our offense and defense, there are times where it just bleeds one into the other. And I think you had some of that. Rutgers just certainly couldn't take care of the baseball. I think they had 4 errors and possibly could have been 6. A couple situations that can't be counted as errors. But, I think it bled over. But you're right. They're bounced back the next day against Western Carolina, 5 home runs. We saw that Rutgers team coming into the weekend, into the Classic last weekend. They were a team that had scored a bunch of runs, but it kind of had the ebbs and flows, and I think we saw that. But that could be certainly a outing that gets Norby turned, and he just continues to improve. And you want to be good now, but you want to be great come when it's nice and warm outside and we're playing May baseball.
All right, Mike Mullis with us here. Grady Lanahan, are we poised for him to really start to heat up here after the 2-for-3 performance? I mean, do you think he will continue to build? And and be the next Pirate to have a freshman All-American candidate season?
I mean, I think he's on track. You know, he's had some obviously big home runs. The one at Carolina, everybody likes to talk about, and then you and I in the broadcast the other night, you know, he hits the one 398, 103, and you know, we kind of picked it at the production room there.
Could you give me those numbers again? I don't think I've heard them enough. What was the
398, 103 off the bat. That was so ingrained into my brain that the production staff was super fired up about that. So, but anyway, you know, he's a great player, man, and he's gonna what if it's fair to compare, and comparison is the thief of all joy, but. You know, we just saw a freshman All-American campaign from one Braden Burris, and if we're comparing and going, okay, what's it going to take for Linehan to be there at the end? I think you're going to have to see what you saw out of Braden Burris, and that was one word to me, and that was consistency. Braden Burris just consistently found his way on base. He found a way to get hits. He did what he had to do and has continued to do so this year. I think Linehan, we've seen certainly very, very bright spots. And then we've seen some kind of normal, you know, vanilla stuff that's still pretty good. But again, he has set his own bar. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's all in front of him, and he is a great player. He is fun to watch. You know, has some juice. He can really run. So, I mean, again, it's all in front of him, and it's just going to be a matter of a consistent effort. And, you know, guys like that, man, they're not measured by their successes. They're measured on their bad days. And when your bad days aren't as bad is when you know you're trending in the right direction. And he's a guy that's got that talent set to just be a consistent, high-level performer for the Pirates.
Mike Mullis with us here on the Patrick Johnson Show. Mully, let me ask you, what Pirates are you looking forward to from an offensive perspective, even if maybe a defensive perspective, start to pick things up here?
Well, I tell you who I really enjoy watching play defense, and that's Matt Lashley. And I've talked about him a lot on various broadcasts.
Fantastic.
And I mean, he just is a huge difference for this team. And, you know, again, and I've said it before and kind of having to eat a little crow. I mean, he came in with the thought of a defense-first shortstop, and he has certainly provided a spark offensively. So I, you know, really enjoy watching him on both sides of the ball. I think we're seeing the fuse lit for Colby Wallace. I think we're starting to see some signs of life there. This will be a big weekend for him, and hopefully he can continue to build on just better at bats. Be super curious to see Alex Boucher, as he kind of works his way back into being healthy. Hadn't had a ton of opportunities this year so far, but a guy that you know, I was extremely impressed with his fall, his commitment to the program. So I mean, I think there's a handful of guys. Obviously, you know, Irby kind of sneakily doing Irby things. I expect to see the power numbers. I mean, it'll be super interesting to me to see if he gets back down to Coastal, falls back into that groove he found himself in there last year, see if he can, you know, in a 3-game series, find a way to have double-digit hits and a handful of home runs. So, you know, I think there's some interesting things going into this weekend and also just going forward as the season rolls on.
Mike Mullis will be at Tiebreakers tonight and Sunday, this evening at 6, Sunday at 2 p.m. Blake Harrell will be there tonight as part of the Inside the Dugout with Mully presentation, the watch-along party that takes place at Tiebreakers for Pirate Road baseball games. And then Mayor P.J. Conley will be the special guest on Sunday. All right, Mully, give me a couple quick keys for the Pirates here as they get ready to take on Coastal at the top of the hour.
Competitive at-bats offensively, I think that's huge. Competitive at-bats will be everything. Minimize your strikeouts. Pitching-wise, be super aware that this, again, I kind of feel like this Coastal team is just hunkered down in the high grass, waiting to pounce on somebody. So, you know, effective, competitive, every pitch, and take care of the baseball. And quite frankly, you could remove the opponent's name and kind of have a blank there. And if any team can manage to do those three things on a consistent basis, their opportunities for success go up tremendously. So, I mean, it's fundamentals, P. It's fundamental baseball, and just go enjoy the environment. I hope the Pirates and players, staff, and fans just recognize what a great situation it'll be to be there and playing against a team that is super quality, and they don't have to deal with Kevin O'Sullivan this trip to Conway.
What a great
love it, Mully. Love it.
Yeah, what a great line. Hey, Mully, thank you. Hope to see you this weekend, and looking forward to the Inside the Dugout with Mully at Tiebreakers.
See you guys very soon. Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
There he goes, Mike Mullis. We'll wrap up today's edition of the Patrick Johnson Show. Stick and stay.
And now, the stunning conclusion.
Why is everyone screaming?
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, the P-Man's Magical Mystery Tour continues this week with additional broadcast work. Today and currently, I am on ESPN Plus with Pirates softballs. They are opening the series against Wichita State. You're missing a great game. So tune into that if you want to watch some fantastic softball action as both teams looking to get a good start off under their belt in the American. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 on ESPN Plus, and then also at 1, I think that 11 a.m., I should say, on Sunday. Faith Kane will join me in the booth for ESPN Plus. Don't forget this weekend, Washington High School will be playing in the Eastern Regional at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And Martin County and Kinston play tonight at the Eastern Regional in Greenville at Indies Coliseum tonight at 8. The joint will be hopping. Have a safe and great weekend, everybody. See you on the TV side.